Why your muscles never fully relax. You wake up in the morning, your traps are really tight. Before bed, your traps are tight. What about the twitch underneath your left eye that just kind of randomly pops out of nowhere? Or what about the tension in the jaw or the grinding of the teeth at night? Every single one of those things are the same problem, and it has nothing to do with stress, posture, or stretching. We have been taught that calcium is all about bone, right? But actually, 99% of the purpose of calcium in our body is to support cell communication signaling. Calcium controls every single muscle contraction, every single nerve firing, every heartbeat. Right now, when you're watching this, your heart is beating. That is calcium. Your eyes moving across the screen right now, that's calcium. And of course, the tightness in your muscles right here, calcium as well, but it's stuck calcium. Before I get into how do we solve this, I really need you to understand what's happening to the muscles in regard to calcium. So when we're talking about contraction in the muscles, what that is calcium going into the muscle. So calcium going in the muscle is the on switch that causes contraction. Calcium going out of the muscle is relaxation. Calcium is both the on switch and the off switch. When we're dealing with relaxation, what has to occur is that calcium has to be pushed through a lot of resistance out of the muscle, okay? And that requires ATP. And in order for ATP to work, it needs magnesium. It's dependent on magnesium. ATP cannot work without magnesium. When we deal with contraction, what we have is a super concentrated amount of calcium outside the cell, and then we have a very low diluted concentration inside the cell. And so when you activate the muscle with your nervous system, it opens the gate and passively this calcium flows through because there's so much pressure, and that's going to start creating the contraction. In order to relax that muscle, you need ATP to push this calcium back over here. And that's dependent on magnesium. That's how relaxation works. I mean, let's just take rigor mortis. When someone dies, they no longer have ATP, and so they no longer have the ability to remove the calcium from the muscle, and the muscle actually gets hard. That's a problem with stuck calcium. It's not because you don't have enough magnesium, it's just that you don't have any more ATP because you died. Another common problem with stuck calcium is palpitations and heart arrhythmias. Tension headaches is a big one, and grinding your teeth, that's another big one. So a lot of people ask me, what supplements do I recommend? Now, of course, I'm not biased of my own high-quality supplement line, but if you go to Amazon and type Dr. Berg supplements, you'll find more information. Another thing that supports what I'm talking about is if you just take a look at a number of medications that mimic magnesium, like calcium channel blockers. Why would someone need a calcium channel blocker? Well, they have hypertension, they have high blood pressure, probably because they're deficient in magnesium. And so what is that medication doing? It's blocking and altering the calcium, so then you can actually lower the blood pressure. Why not just use magnesium? It's just that you can't patent magnesium, so they're not going to really promote it. There's another medication for Alzheimer's that literally is like a synthetic version of magnesium that works in such a parallel way. And this is why I'm doing this video, to give you the background of how magnesium really works and what it does in relationship to calcium, so then you can use it and apply it to different body situations that you have. So let's just talk a little bit more about the calcium stuck problem, okay? Or calcium in the wrong place. If the calcium is stuck in your traps, and by the way, the trapezius muscle is not just right up in here. It goes up into the back of the skull. It goes down your back right here to T12. It spreads out to the outside of the shoulders, even to the front part of the clavicle. So it's quite large and wide. And the lower part of your trap, for most people, is very weak and atrophied. We don't really activate it because we sit so much. And so the top part of the trap usually has to work twice as hard and usually is in a state of contraction. So if you were to look up how to strengthen the lower traps and do those exercises, it would be very, very beneficial, especially for your posture. Like if you go forward an inch, you just added 10 pounds on your traps. If you go 2 inches, you added 20 pounds. If your head's like 3 inches forward, that's 30 pounds on your traps that you're carrying around because your head's going forward because your lower traps are weak. Now, this muscle, the traps, are a direct connection to the flight or fight mechanism. People that are in flight or fight all the time, they're kind of in this posture right here. So it's a common area for stress, but really underneath that, a person just doesn't have enough magnesium to unlock the stuck calcium that's up here, as well as magnesium helping to lower the flight or fight mechanism. Now, another thing you should know about magnesium is it follows a circadian wave. In other words, if you take a look at a 24-hour cycle with magnesium, it's going to be the lowest in the early morning before you wake up. And this is why you see so many body problems that occur in the early morning. Not just the leg cramps that can wake you out of bed, but also the risk of heart attacks and strokes are highest in the early morning. The other problem with stuck calcium is if we don't have enough magnesium, calcium tends to settle in different soft tissue areas like the joints as arthritis, in the arteries as plaquing. But in the kidney stone situation, you don't have just calcium. It's usually combined with calcium oxalates. My theory is that I think kidney stones are in reality a major magnesium deficiency. And I'm speaking from experience since I had kidney stones and I had severe magnesium deficiency as well. You probably heard vitamin K2 is important to keep the calcium out of the soft tissue. But did you know that the main cofactor for vitamin K2 is magnesium? And so magnesium is so interrelated with so much biochemistry. In order for calcium to work right in the body, your pH must be correct. It can't be too alkaline. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is you can have also enough magnesium, but if you're too alkaline, if you're excessively alkaline, calcium will start locking up the nervous system as well. And that's usually behind a lot of the twitching that people have, or even the continued muscle cramps. If your environment is off, everything else struggles. It's like a fish tank. Pollute the water and the fish get sick. You could feed them the best food, you can treat every single symptom, but if the water stays toxic, nothing recovers. The body runs on 10 signals like insulin, cortisol, inflammation, sleep quality, gut function. Every one of them affects how you feel. But there is always one signal that is more broken than the rest. And until you fix that one, everything else stays stuck. I built a free 2-minute quiz that finds it for you. It tells you which one of the main signals is holding your body back right now. Click the link in the description, take the quiz, and stop guessing. When people consume a lot of refined carbohydrates, as in a high sugar and starch diet, they become more alkaline. The best thing to do is just to start eating healthy and your body will go back to whatever pH it needs to be in. However, if you wanted some temporary relief, apple cider vinegar, a little bit in some water, drinking with a straw would be fine, or betaine hydrochloride. If you have any problems with your stomach, especially indigestion, we want to acidify the stomach and that will actually correct the systemic problem with your pH. And I just had to mention supplements, okay? I don't even recommend you take calcium as a supplement because we have plenty of calcium, okay? Our big problem is we have too much calcium and it's plugging everything up. This is what we need right here. The type of magnesium that is the best for absorption is magnesium glycinate. The glycinate part, which is glycine, helps to relax you and it has other benefits because a lot of people are deficient also in that amino acid glycine. Typically, the RDA for magnesium is between 360 to 420, but that's just the bare bones amount. If you have a problem, leg cramps or twitching, you're going to have to take more of a therapeutic dosage of magnesium glycinate for a longer period of time. And I'm talking about higher amounts, not all at one time, but you might want to spread it out through the day. So maybe in one dose, you take 250 to 300, and then you take that 2 or 3, or sometimes even 4 times a day, spread out, depending on what kind of problems you have. I found that you have to take a lot if you have migraine headaches, for example. And if you have a major problem with the stuck calcium, correcting it with magnesium doesn't happen overnight. So getting rid of a twitch might take a week. Getting rid of a cramp could take several weeks. Trying to improve your arrhythmias could take some months. People that have insomnia benefit greatly when they take magnesium in the evenings before bed. Another way to get benefit from magnesium is through Epsom salts. There are Epsom salt baths that you can take. They've done studies and they found that after taking an Epsom salt bath, your magnesium levels do go up in your blood. Now, what about magnesium oil rubbed in topically? Some people take this topical magnesium oil, rub it into their upper traps, rub it into their calves before they go to sleep, maybe their feet, their lower back. It's great. Since we're on the topic of muscles that don't relax, there's something else that you can do that can add huge benefit, and it has to do with myofascial stretching, okay? Because the combination of myofascial stretching and magnesium is dynamite. And for that information, you should watch this video right here. Check it out.